to another edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I am your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and Peebush. How you guys doing?
Doing all right, man. Zoo and I got a fantasy matchup for the ages right now. Not too high scoring, but this Monday night game is going to be the deciding factor. But we are all focused in on NBA today, man. Starts tomorrow, so I'm pumped.
Yeah, tonight will depend on if I win or lose because I'll be sleeping good tonight. My boy Cortland Sutton gets it done against your freaking LA Chargers boys, man. You got both the Chargers boys, both Herbert and Mike Will. The stack is always a little scary because that one tutty, man, is 10 points. That one tutty is 10 points, so that's gonna hurt a lot, especially when I'm only up by like 25 right now. So I got a little wiggle room right now. Hoping my boy Sutton gets it done so I can go back to 500, man. Be under 500, that's not my style, man. It's not my style.
Like you say, fantasy will always be at the forefront of this podcast. We will always talk about our fantasy ups and downs. But for right now, the NBA is here. Starts tomorrow, which is it's insane. You know, it feels like, honestly, the NBA Finals was a couple months ago. But right now, we got opening night coming up. You know, Lakers and Warriors. I think 76ers, Celtics. So a couple good games tomorrow that'll, I guess, whet the appetite of some of the people who love the NBA. So we wanted to get started with the, customary who's going to win the East, who's going to win the West, basically our NBA Finals picks. And Peebush, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, man. I think the East is a little harder this year, and I know we've talked about it a couple times, but when I was looking at those, just looking at the standings, obviously can't look at the preseason. You got the Knicks up there at the top. They're going to be falling through. So just kind of looking for reference in the teams and, looking at a lot of changes these teams made over the summer. And there's three teams that kind of stood out to me. A couple risers, I think, this year. And I think there's, unfortunately, Zoo, I think our Bulls are one of the fallers this year.
I gotta sadly agree, man.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's probably going to be a play-in type of year for the Chicago Bulls. And then you look at a team like the Cavs, who probably should have been out of the play-in last year, but they kind of got riddled by the injury bug post All-Star break last year. And now they bring in Donovan Mitchell. So I do think that's probably the highest, year-over-year change is probably going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers this year in an upward fashion. But I'm looking at three teams, man. I'm looking at the Celtics, I'm looking at the Sixers, and I'm looking at the Bucks. Nets, I think, have a little too many questions. Celtics also, their issue with Robert Williams. I think that's, he's just got the injury plague, man. You got the whole debacle with Ime Udoka. Don't want to delve all into that, but they just have some things shifting around within their organization that could cause some personnel turmoil or just cause issues within the team. So top two for me, man. I think it's the Bucks conference to lose. They have the best player in the league, but I like the changes that the Sixers made, man. So I'm actually going to go with the Sixers coming out of the East. I think the additions of PJ Tucker and Montrezl Harrell, I really like those depth additions. Tyrese Maxey hopefully takes another step, and we are all on this Harden train, man. I think everyone's really excited to see if he's back to normal James Harden form, and if that's the case, enough said about Joel Embiid, man. He's top 3 player in the league, and will only get better and have less pressure on his shoulders if James Harden can be at his 25-point per game level, man. So, Zoo, I know we talked about this a couple days ago, but I got the Sixers coming out of the East, man.
Yeah, same, man. For me, this is the Sixers year, man. I'm looking at the problems with the other team. Number one, you mentioned Boston Celtics, the head coach. That's a big issue. Ime Udoka that dude made playoff adjustments, man. I feel like he as a rookie head coach, he looked like a vet out there, making adjustments in the playoffs, coach against top coaches like Eric Spoelstra and a couple other guys like that. So his resume might be short, but that resume was real, real good, making that Celtics team work together after a debacle in the initial start of the regular season and getting those boys up and pretty much regrouping and becoming the most dominant team for the next half season. And they were whooping people, like absolutely whooping people. So Boston Celtics, coach, out. Nope. There's a Missoula guy. I don't know who he is, man. Him taking over as a rookie head coach amid the disastrous situation. Celtics are off my list. They ain't going far this year, man. A little regression too, man. So they out. Miami Heat. Nah, stop it, man. I love me some Jimmy Buckets, man. But this team is just lacking talent. I look at the talent. You know my thoughts about Bam Adebayo, man. The offensive side of the ball, the dude's atrocious, man. Can't shoot 3-point shots. He would not take 3-point shots. In the playoffs, he's supposed to be a mid-range shooter. Didn't shoot mid-range shots either. Had lack of confidence on offense. Maybe it's because the Rob Williams make that guy look like a little baby. But Mr. Bam Adebayo offensively is very, very lacking. And Jimmy Butler still needs the number 2 option. Donovan Mitchell would have been nice, but too bad they couldn't get it done. Pretty much the same exact returning roster, man. They out for me, man.
Yep.
So I gotta agree with that. The Sixers, man, they got better this season, and I gotta go with the Bucks, man. Even though the Chris Middleton injury, missing a couple of weeks in the initial of the regular season. If this lingers, you have to rely again on Drew Holiday as a number 2 offense, as an offensive scorer. Drew Holiday, I love the brother on defense, man. He's one of the greatest on-ball defenders I've ever seen. He could guard wings and guards, which is rare for a guy his size. So him as a defender is great, but offensively, Giannis needs a second option, especially Giannis is he's a power forward down low. He dominates the paint. You need a guy that complements on the perimeter, which was Chris Middleton. So that makes me like, ooh, man, maybe someone else can sneak in, man. And maybe someone else can sneak in. So I'm going to have someone else sneak into the conference finals, man. I'm putting in the Brooklyn Nets this year, man. Really? I'm putting in the Brooklyn Nets. I'm putting them in. I love the acquisitions, man. TJ Warren, we all remember Bubble Warren, man. Mr. MJ himself in the bubble, man. Really putting up 30-piece games, man. At the mid-range, ooh, he looked real nice. Yeah, and that dude's off the bench. Off the bench. Yeah, obviously, we know all about KD and Kyrie's offensive skills, man. But Ben Simmons, man, we're looking at him. We're going to be like, yo, we're not relying on – we don't want you to be Magic Johnson. We want you to be Draymond Green. Draymond Green, the guy that does all the dirty work, does all the dribble handoff, does all the passing to the corner 3-point shooter, be the defensive player of the year caliber player that he can be, and tell him you're going to be that role. You're going to be the Draymond of his team, and I feel like he's just a lot more comfortable in that role, especially when you have Kyrie, KD, Joe Harris, Seth Curry. He's got shooters for days, man. Oh, I forgot Patty Mills, too. So they got elite snipers everywhere, and obviously the income return of Joe Harris pretty much is a new player because he didn't play last year. Joe Harris did not play last year. This guy's an elite shooter, shooting 40-plus percentage, man. One of the greatest 3-point shooters in the history of basketball. You're adding that guy along with Seth Curry, who's also a 40-plus% 3-point shooter. I feel like this year, Kyrie's got the motivation. He wants a contract.
Contract year.
He wants a contract.
Money.
He wants a 5-year max extension that right now, he looked around the league, nobody wanted him this year. For like a sign-in trade. Nobody could get a deal done. Nobody were desperate enough to sign Kyrie Irving. So he's looking at himself like, man, Nike's kicking me out of my shoe contract, man. Where's my money going to come from? So he's going to be there. He's going to be dropping 27 points again. Motivation. And obviously KD's straight up a baller. Like, I don't have to worry about Kevin Durant, even though he went the bed last year in the playoffs. Regular season KD with this squad, man. I got them in the conference finals against the Philadelphia 76ers. But I got the Sixers coming out this year, man. I love the acquisitions of the role players. The role players is what separated them from last year. Last year's role players just weren't that good. And obviously, we're talking about Harden coming back, and he got to bounce back. I remember I was huge on the Harden trade. I'm like, this is the deal that they needed. But the Harden they got, he was an ugly ass Harden. He was an imposter, man. Not taking shots in the playoffs, embarrassing. So I feel like this year, fully healthy. That's what he says. He's fully healthy now, 100%. No more blaming the hamstring, please. No more of that. No more. I'm the facilitator. No. You're the facilitator and scorer, man. Yep. That's why you want your 5-year extension. This is how you get it done, man. Drop 25 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds. If you make the finals with Joel Embiid, man, or even win it, you'll get your bag. You'll get your $200 that you want. You'll get it, and you'll deserve it, especially if you get it done. So. All the motivation is there, man. All the motivation is there.
Taken from Zoo, money is motivation is always.
Money's the motivation. Money's the conversation. That's on James Harden's mind, man. You got to help cook your boy, the baby, man. Got to get that bag, man. Got to get that bag.
I know James Harden, took less for the team, but I think he got
he had to
by a guy that will remain nameless, but he's very big and a fanatic. So I'll just leave that there. There's a little theory for me, but. The Brooklyn Nets was a very, very enticing pick for me when I was doing going over the East because just looking at how Ben Simmons is basically their third option. Like you say, his role as Draymond Green is very, very, very in tune with what he needs to be for that team. And, Kyrie with the contract year and Kevin Durant, he's been hurt a good bit, but when he's healthy, he is one of the best scorer in the league when he's healthy. So that wasn't very enticing because they got a lot of other depth pieces. I don't even think we mentioned Seth Curry. Like, he's another shooter that they have. So it's like they could really be spacing the floor and having just everybody come at you from different angles. So they were very enticing for me. I was like, God, they could be somebody who, because I don't really buy into, I know last year with the whole COVID stuff with Kyrie and all that stuff, the team was just disjointed. I understand that. But to me, in the NBA, more than any other league, it's all about talent acquisition. So if you have the talent pieces, you're more than likely going to get where you're going to go, barring injury. So they were very enticing. But for me, I just went with the default, and that was with the Milwaukee Bucks. And that's because last year I feel like they should have won it. They should have won it last year. To me, I felt like they would have beat Boston in 6 if they had Chris Middleton. Yep. And I feel like they would have provided a better matchup with the Golden State Warriors just because Giannis is just that unstoppable. And we got to start having a conversation about Giannis. Like, there's a couple of guys in the post guys in the league. Like, I ain't going to say any names, but I will say a name, Gilbert Arenas, that kind of looks at him as not being skillful. And I can understand maybe he doesn't have the bag of a Kobe Bryant, or he's not like a Tracy McGrady out there, like with array of post moves and array of jump shots from the mid range. I understand all that, but it's like he's a dominant player. And, when LeBron and Steph and KD, they start getting to, LeBron's going to be the first one, I think, out of those groups, ends up retiring first. And then Steph ends up leaving. And then, KD, there's going to be a wrestling of whose league is it going to be? Well, it's like Giannis has the potential this year. If he goes to the championship and wins it, okay, we got to start having a conversation about it's his league. There's other guys that are more exciting, like Luka and Ja, but Giannis is getting there. And you could argue his second star, Chris Middleton, not being there, he's had to do a lot of carrying the load, and he's done a good job at that. Boston will tell you, Giannis gave them all they wanted last year.
Yep.
All they wanted. So for me, it's he's the best. To me, he's the best player in the league.
I think he's the best player in the league.
Yeah. So to me, it's when you got the best player in the league. It's kind of I don't want to compare him to LeBron, but it's always by default when LeBron was in the East, it's he's the best player. Who are we going to put around him to be decent enough to where they can get to the finals? And I feel like that's what you need with Giannis. And there's some guys on his team that I was looking down okay, Grayson Allen had kind of a little bit of a coming out party last year. I wouldn't say he's the next, third player in that rotation, but he's good enough to be a nice shooter and can create a little bit off the dribble. But them picking up Joe Ingles, I think is going to be a sneaky good addition if he comes back healthy, because he's just going to be another shooter that's going to be out on the wing. And he's not awful on defense. No. Now, he tore his ACL, so he might be worse.
That's a wild card because they paid him a lot. They paid him the mid-level. That's good money.
Yeah. They paid him like he's going to come in and start. Now, I think he's probably going to take those Grayson Allen minutes when he comes back, if he shows he can come and be, I guess, in a decent type of shape. But him, along with the guy they got in the first round, I think it's Marjan Beauchamp. It's French. But he's another wing guy who is already defensively 6'7". He's got a 7-foot wingspan, guard type, player who can be another wing defender. And it just goes into what their DNA is of you got him, you got Drew Holiday, you got Chris Middleton, you got Giannis. That's a good elite or potential elite defensive type team. You still got Bobby Portis there. They just have all the makings of a team that should have won last year. And this year, I feel like they're going to be able to right that wrong. But I agree with Zoo. Chris Middleton has to be healthy because he's the guy who's their number 2. He's not a kind of masquerading number 2. No, he's a legit number 2 option. He has to be healthy. And, the whole thing about his wrist, I don't know if it's a shooting hand or if it's non-shooting hand, but that's a little concerning because, he was already hurt with his knee. So it's if he comes back at least by December or something like that where you can get some rhythm, then I like them a lot because the 76ers, I do. They're another team I like a lot. But the only thing that kind of worries me is with James. I know last year was an admiration, but regardless, it's a lot of miles on that body. So to me, I think the key piece is going to be Zoo's boy Tyrese. If Tyrese takes a huge step, huge step, and it's basically not saying he will be better than James Harden, but if he's basically carrying the load during the regular season, then
scoring wise, scoring will be like that third scorer or maybe second scorer. Who knows?
Yeah. I think that will be a big point of where it throws a whole monkey in the wrench, because if you got those three guys, and then they got a nice guy, I think DeAndre Melton from the
Grizzlies.
He was another nice addition, but yeah, that'll be enticing. But I think we all can agree the East, for me, like I say, I picked the Bucks because I'm going off of last year. I feel like they should have won.
Yep.
There's a lot of teams in the East, man.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of them can make it out. You can make an argument of 5 teams making it out.
5. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you can make a legit argument, because I don't see like a straight dominant team. Like just talent wise, just better than everyone else. I feel like talent wise, they're on the same tier. Which is pretty nice. It's pretty nice not having an obvious team coming out.
And we got to see the Cavs play.
Oh, dude. Oh, we might be sleeping on them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because talent-wise, you could say they're up there with these other tier teams. We just haven't seen them all together yet.
I think what scares me is their backcourt will get destroyed. They're 2 small guards. It's not.
Yeah.
And Donovan Mitchell. If Donovan Mitchell showed potential as a defender, then I'd be more on board. But I think their backcourt.
But you got those big boys down low.
Yeah.
As rim protector, so if they blow by, it's not just Donovan Mitchell had Rudy Gobert as one line of defense.
Yeah, he did.
You got 2 lines of defense with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. So it's like the perfect complement, as those guys being more defensive focused guys, the guards obviously being explosive 20-point like bucket getters. So I feel like they're complement. Like if the coaching does their job and make them mesh and get chemistry, you can make an argument that talent wise, they're up there with those elite teams in the East.
And I feel like too with Cleveland, they're more. I want to see them gel, but I feel like they're more of a long play of just say it doesn't work this year. Like it would be crazy if they ended up getting to the conference finals this year. That would just be like, okay, this really works. But they're more of a long play. Like they're going to have more cracks at the armor of getting to the conference finals.
They got 3 years of Donovan. 3 years.
Yeah. They got the range to if it doesn't work this year, they can make the necessary adjustments to see if they can get to the conference finals or even the final. So switching to the West. It's definitely not as deep as the East, and that's kind of crazy because usually we always say the West is the conference that has all the depth in terms of 1 through 8. But I feel like this year you can kind of say the East is overtaking that. So with the West, I guess I'll start it. It's so many storylines because you have a lot of teams that were riddled by injury or mysterious game 7s, and I guess you could say an example of that was the Phoenix Suns and how they just came out.
Wild.
I don't know if you guys heard the whole. There's been some rumors about that saying like some of the team have COVID and that was why they got blown out. But I don't know. Maybe that was
it just sounded like a bunch of excuses after Luka Doncic became their daddy, man.
That's what it kind of felt like. It just kind of felt like Luka came in there with nothing to lose and played like it and just toured with them the entire time.
Yeah.
So that's one of the teams that were a major disappointment. But like you said, I think there was a lot of injuries that happened in the West, and there were some teams that didn't fulfill their potential. So for me, there was 2 to 3 teams that I kind of had on my radar as teams that could come out of the West. Golden State, of course, by default, because they have Jordan Poole, they have Steph Curry, they have Klay Thompson, a year after the injury. You got Draymond Green kind of wanting to mess up team chemistry, I guess you could say.
Punches.
But I feel like it's kind of hard with Steph Curry being the leader. He just knows how to navigate all of that.
Yeah.
They got a lot of depth on the bench with Kuminga, Moody, Wiseman, like Andrew Wiggins. I think Andrew Wiggins might start, but they're just a super deep team. So it's kind of like
inexperienced.
You should pick them. But it's like how this thing in the NBA goes, there's more talent in the league, and it's just hard to repeat. It's hard to. Like, and I don't care who you are. You always fall back down when you win. That's just how it goes. This is how it goes. What you about to say, Zoo?
And I think the West is healthier. Yeah. Last year, the amount of injuries on significant players, aka the Clippers mainly, and the Denver Nuggets. So 2 playoff, I would say, contenders this year. They were fully healthy, and the Warriors. If you look at last year, they played a lot of injured teams. They caught some breaks. They got it done. They deserved to win it all, but they caught some breaks. Like most finals teams catch some breaks. And with the team's getting healthier, man, journey ain't going to be easier. And if I look at the roster again this year, talent-wise, they're the same team. Yeah. They're the same team. The majority of the roster. Shout out to Jordan Poole. Shout out to Andrew Wiggins for getting their paychecks, man. Because when they say we're going to get that bag, they got their bags, man. Shout out to those guys getting their bag. But the Golden State Warriors, I agree with you, man. It's the same team. They should be the favorite because they won it all. But in my opinion, I don't have them coming back. I just see the talent around them going up, and they stay the same. just they stay the same. So
and with Draymond, if he's not there, defensive chemistry. I mean, we've talked about this multiple times throughout the years. He is the glue to that, especially the defensive side.
Defensive end.
Obviously, on the offensive end, they do run a lot through him. But defensively, man, we saw what that team was without Draymond Green 2 years ago when they ended up being in the play-in tournament and losing to the Grizzlies, man. So, that's another thing to keep in mind.
It is very fair.
That continues to fall through.
Yeah, so they were a team that I was looking at like, it's just I don't want to pick them because it's they got the makings of another championship run, but it's just harder when other teams are healthy. So then you go down to another team. Denver, I feel like, is a very trendy pick. Very trendy. You got Jokic, who 2-time MVP.
Playing like
Michael Porter Jr., who is, got paid like a guy who they expect to be a star, who shoots really well from
Plays
3.
9 games.
And then you have Jamal Murray, who, like, if you watched any bubble basketball, he was Jordan Light when he was in there playing.
Fucking God mode.
Back to back with Donovan Mitchell in that Utah Denver series. So, they're a team that's very trendy. But for me, where I defaulted on and going like, okay, this is the team I think is going to make it, I'm picking Memphis. Because they were on Golden State. Ja was talking his junk. Now, for me, it was kind of annoying because when he was doing it with Minnesota, it was like, bro, y'all was supposed to wipe them out in 5 games.
They were struggling.
And that was a little irritating for me. But I do understand Ja's mantra and his mentality of it's just like, I'm going to continue to go at you and I'm going to score on you and I'm going to talk junk while I do it, which I do appreciate. But they look like they matched up very well with Golden State. And if it weren't for Ja getting injured, like to Zoo's point, there was a lot of injuries in the West. I think they could have got to the Western Conference Finals, and I think they could have got to the finals. So I think Ja's going to take another step. He's going to be in that, early season. If he gets off to a hot start, like, can he be MVP? He's going to be in that realm. I also feel like Zaire Williams for them is going to take another good step, just as another 3-and-D guy who can defend, I don't know, other type of wings for other teams in the West, and he can shoot. I like their, sneaky good move with Tyus Jones, bringing him back, because I feel like he's a really
good backup.
I think he could start for some teams. So
that's why they let Melton go.
Yes,
to your point earlier.
I think he's a really good pickup, or not pickup, but a re-signing. The only thing that worries me about Memphis is Triple J. He just always seems to be injured.
Injured again, man.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
That worries me about it. I mean, now he had issues. He has issues with like foul trouble and stuff. Like, and I think that's just because he's a young player. But I need him to be on the court so maybe he can fix it. Yeah, his jump shot is not. It's a kind of a set push shot. Yeah, it's kind of tough to watch. But that's the only thing that worries me. I feel like if he can come in and get reps with them and stay healthy and maybe mature in terms of not getting into foul trouble and playing with the team, I think the sky's the limit with them, because they are a team I feel like is going to be gunning for the number 1 seed, because they play hard every night. They're not one of those teams that just like they'll coast or they got older stars. They're trying to win every game, and you saw that last year. So I think they're going to be trying to get the number 1 seed, and I think if they get the number 1 seed, they're going to be a tough out, because going on the road and playing in Memphis, I would probably argue that's one of the toughest environments in all of the NBA, and it's definitely one of the toughest in the Western Conference. So they're a team I defaulted on. It took a lot for me, though. I will say before I hand it over to you guys, it took a lot for me not to pick Luka. It took a lot.
Really?
Yeah, because I just think he's that good. He's in that LeBron where it don't really matter who he's got around you. It's just he's going to make those guys better. And the only reason why I think that is because what he did to Phoenix last year. It's like if he can do that to like the number 1 seed, he can do
that. Was a finals team. Yeah,
hey,
he's going to be scared.
COVID.
Yeah, that's what they claim in Phoenix. That's what they claim. If that's what they're saying, I'll give it to him. But
yeah, if they're blaming COVID, man. If they're blaming COVID, then Luka's nickname is COVID, man. Because that's what happened. They didn't get COVID. They got Luka, man. That's all that happened, man. They got sick because we were playing Luka Doncic, man.
But I'm gonna roll with Memphis. That's what I'm gonna go with from my
interesting.
Western Finals pick.
Wow. Man, that's an interesting pick, man. I do Memphis. I do like Memphis as a dark horse, but the Triple J injury, man, I don't like picking teams with have injuries going into the season. That always scares me, especially a lower body injury, man. So that's why for me, I love Memphis team. They proved me like a lot last year, especially against the Golden State Warriors, but they out for me just because of the Triple J injury, man. Just because of that injury. But for one team, for sure, I got in the conference finals this year. I'll go with those Clippers, baby. The Clippers, baby. I am so high on John Wall this year. I am so high on John Wall. Dude, I love John Wall as a player, man. He dug in with them, man. He dancing on them. I'm like, yo, he got the swag back.
2010?
Dude, I'm telling you, man. John Wall can still play basketball. The last time we seen him was on the Houston Rockets, and the dude was dropping 20 points off injury. They just shut him down because they're trying to tank and get a higher draft pick. But it wasn't because John Wall couldn't play. It was because they're trying to lose games, and John Wall is a productive NBA player. So John Wall, because they're saying Reggie Jackson might start initially. I think like, okay, Reggie Jackson, but I feel like Tyler. Yeah, I feel like Ty Lue will get to his senses and put in John Wall when he sees this brother come off the bench. Because John Wall, he's a definition of a true playmaker. He's a pass-first point guard. Like his ability to create open threes in the corner threes for an offense that is going to have 4 guys out. John Wall, I feel like John Wall is going to help out Paul George and Kawhi Leonard so much as a third, he's third ball handler out there with the 2 stars out there. Because I even look at on paper. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard scares me, man. Mr. Load Management himself, man. He scares me. But I feel like they're going to manage his minutes, try to get him healthy throughout the season, so they're not going to overwork Kawhi Leonard's body, even though he took pretty much last year off. He's going to play his 50 to 60 games in the regular season. They're going to low manage him. Paul George, even though he's been pretty injured the last couple of years, I feel like he's not that injury prone compared to Kawhi Leonard. I think he's going to have a great season. John Wall, Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, Nicholas Batum. The team is stacked, man. Norman Powell off the bench, 17 points, 2-way player. Robert Covington as a 3-and-D wing player. Jesus, there's a reason Mr. Ballmer is paying that luxury tax, man. He paying that luxury tax. They made those trades last year to prepare for this season. Last year, they're like, yeah, everyone's injured. We are not, but they did trades, man. They got Powell. They got Covington. They got this team for the playoffs, and I feel like they could play 5 perimeter guys out there.
Yeah.
5 out guys that could shoot and play defense.
And that'll win you in the West.
Maybe exactly.
In the East, but yeah, in the West.
Yeah. And I'm looking at that team on paper, and Ty Lue proved me a lot as a head coach. Past couple of years with LeBron with the Clippers. Great coaching by Ty Lue. So I feel like in the playoffs with adjustments and with this group of players, I feel like they're my number 1 team right now on paper. And I got them making the conference finals, man. The LA Clippers this year, man. It has to be there this season. Because this is the most talented Clippers team I've ever seen.
Better than even, I think
it's better than the CP3, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan Clippers. I think this team's pretty much better than the team that should have made the conference finals when they choked against the Denver Nuggets, man. Yep. So I got the Clippers as my first team, man. Clippers at the first team, man. But my oh my, that second team in the West though. Clippers is easy for me. That was the easy option for me. So because I love myself some Jokic, man. I love myself some Jokic. This guy's one of the most disrespected MVPs, man. The last couple seasons, man, people are like, oh, he ain't deserving. He only got it because of the analytics, man. All the stat nerds love his analytics. Nah, he's just that impactful. He's just that impactful, and this analytics are telling you he's freaking impactful because he's their playmaker, he's their best rebounder, he's their best scorer, he's their low post guy, he's their outside threat, he's their best passer / playmaker, and he's a better defender. Like he legit does everything on a basketball court. The only thing they can say Jokic is bad at is he a little chubby, man. Got a little baby fat, and he just got no hops. That's all you can say about Jokic, man.
It doesn't matter with that jump shot.
Oh, yeah.
He's not exciting. That's what they would say.
Yeah. So I'm like, Jokic, man, I want the Nuggets to make it to the conference final, but I can't do it, man. I just can't do it, man. Two guys coming off of injuries. I had to give them at least 1 season to feel mentally. Yeah. It's mentally ready. Like physically, I feel like they're going to be good, but mentally, I feel like they're not going to be 100%, man. So I can't go with no Nuggets, man. I can't go with those Nuggets, man. Oh yeah, I'm going with the Clippers, man. Clippers. Oh man, I can't believe it, man.
Hey, they deserve it, man. I mean, they've had so many good teams over the years that have just underperformed. That Ballmer's finally just had enough. He's like, screw it, I'm going all in. That man's going to be going crazy. I'd love to see the Clippers win just so I could see Steve Ballmer's reaction alone.
You would go crazy.
That would be TikTok worthy for sure.
And I'd really want to see how Kawhi and Ballmer would actually interact after winning a finals. I feel like that's
very awkward.
Polar opposites. Yeah, man. So Zoo, I got to agree with you. So those are my 2 teams out of the West. You know, Warriors, to your point, Sean, earlier, I have them as the 3rd seed in the West this year. I think the Nuggets will take that 2nd spot. But the reason, and I actually, to your point earlier, Zoo, Nuggets kind of owned the Clippers a little bit these past couple of years. And, maybe the Clippers weren't at full strength. Now they've made some more moves, to your point, Covington. I still think that Norman Powell deal was a steal.
Yeah.
Coming off. Him and John Wall are your two first guys off the bench to start the season. Jesus Christ. That's probably the best second unit in the league. But the difference for me, man, is actually Ty Lue. I think it's the coaching. If you're looking at talent on the Clippers and the Nuggets, I think they're pretty comparable because I don't think the Clippers have as dominant a player overall as the Nuggets have with Jokic, but they have better role players than the Nuggets have.
Yeah.
So they're pretty comparable, skill level overall. But you want to talk about making adjustments in a playoff game, knowing how to deal with his players and personnel. They seem to love playing for him. I think Ty Lue's one of the best coaches in the league, and he'll end up being the difference maker if these two teams face off in the Western Conference Finals. So I got the Clippers coming out, man.
Clippers.
Yeah, I'm not mad at the Clippers' take, even though the depth and stuff is really nice. I like their two main players, like two-way wings, even though that might be fading a little bit because they're getting older. And like you say, if you watch them against the Nuggets and the Mavericks, like they didn't shut down either. I mean, maybe it's hard to shut down Luka, but the only thing that worries me about the Clippers is a lot of this stuff. I feel like people kind of think, because they've been injured so much, people kind of have been like subtracting the years that they've been together. But this is going on year 4, and they have nothing to show for it but the conference finals of Game 6, which that was more of a heroic run because, I think Kawhi.
That was their most impressive. Yeah, Kawhi was out. Kawhi was injured.
And who was the catalyst for that was Reggie Jackson. So I do wonder, will there be any type of because if I'm Reggie Jackson, I don't care nothing about what John Wall got going on because I could be saying, look, bro, I led my team to the conference finals in Game 6. What have you ever gotten that far with a team? No, you have not. I don't care what you've done. And you haven't been playing for a couple of years too. So if I'm Reggie Jackson, I'm kind of thinking I'm not giving up no spot for nothing. Now, I do think they might be better if John Wall starts and Reggie Jackson comes off as like that energy off the bench.
Yeah, scorer off the bench.
I think he's better suited that way, but I don't think in his mind he's thinking I sit behind John Wall for what? But that could be a storyline down the road. But I do have kind of a thing when I was thinking about the Clippers, I was like, I do want to pick them, but a lot of it's just pedigree. They're the Clippers, so it's kind of like they got a lot of talent, but they've had this talent for a while, and it's like
not this deep of a bench. But not this deep. The top level players are the same, but the bench is very different.
Their top players are the same, and their bench is a whole lot deeper. But it's when it comes to crunch time, do you trust Kawhi? I trust Kawhi.
Kawhi? A little bit. I trust Kawhi. I trust Kawhi.
They gave that 3-1 lead up.
That was bad. I give you that was bad, but I still trust them.
George was hitting the side of
even the most clutchest players has had epic moments. They're disastrous moments. Happened to LeBron, happened to Kobe, happened to Kawhi, happened to Curry, happened to KD. It happens. Just don't happen a lot. Just don't. If it happens again.
KD did lose a 3-1 lead, but it's
KD 3-1, Steph Curry 3-1, Kobe 3-1,
Harden and CP3.
Harden CP3 3-2.
I think CP3 might have got it. But yeah, it's just the Clippers. Is I think. Part of me is just I'm resisting to pick it. It's a wait and see approach with them. If they come out guns a-blazing, I will not be surprised. But it's I want to see it first and how they mesh. Yeah, and them being healthy. So that's kind of why I didn't want to go the Clippers route.
Yeah.
Denver is very tricky too because it's man, they could if Jamal comes back really it's been because he didn't play since 2020, so he's really been a year and change. So he might come out guns a-blazing and be on point. I was really close picking them, but like I said, Memphis, everybody's kind of got their weird injury history in the West. So it's either team you pick, you can say, well, you can go here and say, well, they're injured here. But we'll see what
Sean, I gotta say this real quick though. We said the Cavs could be the far dark horse in the East.
I didn't know where you're going with this.
Pelicans, man.
Pelicans.
They're super deep.
Dark horse.
Super
stacked. I just think that experience will probably end up biting them in the ass in the end. That's probably how they'll lose a series. Just, in a 6 or 7 game series, they're just not going to have that chemistry or coaching, making the right adjustments. Zion coming back fully, needing a full year. Also a question mark. Can he stay healthy? Can him, Brandon Ingram and McCollum mesh together well enough to make it far? But that's another team that I think is creeping up similar to the Cavs. They're kind of both on that rising level. So I just want
Zion
to say that.
need Zion to be healthy. Need him to be healthy because they could be very scary. They could be that 5th or 6th seed that could.
They could be the Grizzlies, the Grizzlies of last year.
Yeah,
that surprise teams as the young talent. Team. Way more talent, But they could be like the Grizzlies of last year. Yeah, absolutely.
The only thing that is who is their point guard? It's not CJ. And we can't have Zion bringing it up then.
It is CJ. CJ plays point.
No, he's a 2.
CJ, he plays point though.
Like that. They're gonna need it. That's why all these picks. Not saying you got to deal CJ, but all these picks and maybe guys that are that 8th and 9th guy, go get you a point guard. Because I don't like CJ at point. I mean, he's a 2 to me. But I mean, maybe they bring up the ball with Zion the entire time. Who knows? Point Zion. That'd be nice to see. But
2 hours later.
Like you say, switching, we're going to go to, I guess you could say, the awards, NBA awards. Now, these always fluctuate. There's players that you won't ever see come in the Rookie of the Year race or the 6th Man of the Year race and MVP. But right now, we're just going to go off of who we think is going to have the best chance to win these awards. And I guess we could start with the 6th Man of the Year award. Let's just start there. Any of you guys want to take that stab at who you think is going to win 6th Man? P-Bush?
This one's a little – I wouldn't say it's a straight across the board, but I think we all Jordan Poole's probably the favorite here. You know, I do think
didn't see that one coming.
Yeah. Guys make $140 million over 4 years.
140 or fully guaranteed, man. Fully guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what he can do. I mean, you know, some of the shots he takes, man, he's obviously just trying to impress somebody in the front row. Clearly, man. But I still think he's the best player coming off the bench. I do think you could also consider Norman Powell, to what we were just talking about. He could be a sleeper pick if you're looking for value and you're a betting man or woman on these props. So, you know, I think it's got to be Jordan Poole. I think if Draymond is not playing, their defense is going to be down and they're going to need to be more efficient scoring. And I think they're going to call upon him to fill in because, you know, who knows what Klay Thompson is going to look like. Is he going to be as consistent this year or is he kind of starting to trail off a little bit? Something we got to monitor. So I'm going with Poole for 6 Man.
Yeah, same, man. Same. Like this dude, he's a starter. He just plays on a team with Steph Curry. He just plays on a team with Steph Curry because he would start for probably half the NBA teams easily, and probably a couple more after that, but half guaranteed.
Pelicans could use him.
Oh yeah. But Jordan Poole, man, this dude, man, his skill set. Because if you look at the 6th Man of the Year, defense doesn't matter. Voters don't care about defense. Points per game is probably the biggest factor as far as that's concerned. And Jordan Poole off the bench can average 18 to 20 points a game off the bench. And I can't say that about a lot of dudes. This dude is this generation's Lou Will, Jamal Crawford prototype. But I think he's better. He's an underrated passer. Like some of the passes he does, really good creativity, man. His scoring, his dribble, his package dribbling. Oh man, him on the pick and roll. My goodness, like he's taking lessons from Chef Curry, man. He's taking lessons from the chef. And JP, man, $140 million man, and I think he deserved the money, man. This is what I said, man. I feel like this guy, if he was on another team and has a starting role, he can be an all-star caliber guard off like on the bench of an all-star team. I think he's that talented. He just plays for the Warriors, so he'd be off the bench. He takes that Ginobili type role, man. He got the money. You're going to get your points. You're going to get your shots, man, in this beautiful offense. So JP for 3, man. Easy pick for me, man. Easy pick for me.
I think it's a consensus. I think, like I said, if I'm putting money, I would say Jordan Poole. But just to have somebody different, I wrote down 3 names, but I wrote down a second one after Jordan Poole. And it's just kind of a to be determined because I don't think this person is going to be on the bench the entire year. But because of past transgressions and how they said he's not a team player, Christian Wood could be a guy if he stays on the bench the entire year. Could be a nice 6 Man of the Year candidate. Just because I feel like his game is going to expand with Luka. Like he's already basically a 39-40% shooter from 3. He was averaging 17 points. And some could argue the reason why he maybe had these attitude problems is because he was in the cultures that were
bad culture. Yeah,
like
Rockets.
Like that's tough. Like you was with Detroit all those years. Like that's tough for any young player who's trying to get to that next contract to be like, okay, let me be the first guy. Exactly. Now a lot of guys end up doing it because maybe they're not as talented as Chris Wood, but I think with Luka, he's going to have a lot of open shots. I think he can expand his game more. He's a classic stretch 4. I think he averaged around 17, 18 points. Maybe he can push that to like 22, 23 with Luka. And if he's able to do that and he stays in that 6 Man role, which I don't understand why he's a 6 man. Maybe it's because he had the cultural issues, but
the thing is they mentioned, Jason Kidd mentioned that they promised JaVale McGee a starting job when they gave him a contract.
I'm not mad at that though. He's an average player.
JaVale McGee is a nice center.
Yeah.
But Christian Wood is the second best player on the roster, and I don't think the second best player should come off the bench.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me. I don't know. They might give JaVale McGee maybe 5 to 10 games. They're like, yeah, JaVale, we got to make an adjustment. We're putting Christian Wood in, man. We gave you an opportunity, but you lost the job. We got his brother off the bench. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got this dude off the bench averaging 20 points, and I feel like this dude – with a point guard like Luka Doncic, throwing him lobs, throwing him kickouts, like ain't gonna be no Maxi Kleber jacking up threes, man. It's be Christian Wood, man. We got an elite shooter out there, man. Especially with the loss of Jalen Brunson, they're gonna need another scorer to come out. Like people say Spencer Dinwiddie, I'm like, nah, stop it, man. Spencer Dinwiddie ain't the number 2 option, man. It's gonna be Christian Wood. Yeah, not even that good of a third option. Yeah, borderline third option. But Christian Wood, man, I love that pick because I think he's a really, really talented guy that's been really, really shitty situations, and he was just trying to get a contract because he's never been paid a lot of money in his NBA career. He was like a late pick. Yeah, he was undrafted. Yeah, so he's never seen that big NBA money yet, and he's trying to survive in his first couple of years. So you got to be a little more selfish.
Yeah,
right. Like if you're on like 1 to 2 year deals, like you don't know where your next paycheck's going to be next year. Your career might be over. You're trying to get buckets, so it's totally understandable. But if you play with Luka Doncic, man, you're gonna get paid, man. You're gonna get paid, and then he's gonna be because I can't go with Christian Wood as obviously 6 man because I think he's gonna start. Or I feel like Jason Kidd will put him in the starting lineup because he's way too good. Second best player off the bench, that makes no sense at all. No sense. He's too good. He's too good.
Rising, though.
And that was part of the reason why I was like, even though I didn't pick him in the Western Conference, having Christian Wood, if he has a breakout, you're getting Tim Hardaway back. That's going to be a nice little team. But, I guess transitioning to Rookie of the Year, I guess I'll start. To me, I think it's Paolo. And only reason why I'm saying this is because his 2 games in Vegas, he looked super dominant. He looked like a player who can get his shot off the dribble, can position down low, get easy buckets, can run in transition. I think his shot is decent enough, but I'm not ever too worried about the shot because who we had concerns about shot last year was Scotty Barnes, and he ended up winning Rookie of the Year. Shot is sometimes a little bit overrated. I know we put a premium on that in the NBA, but I feel like the taller you are and the longer you are in terms of just your wingspan and skill set, and you have the ability to dribble, they're going to take that type of athlete 9 times out of 10, and they're going to work on the shot. So for me, I think Paolo showed enough during those, even though it was brief with those first 2 games in the NBA Summer League. I think he has the potential to get as many shots as he wants. Because if you look at that Orlando roster, they have guards, but they brought Paolo in for a reason. I think they're going to let him bring the ball up a little bit. They're going to let him, go off a pick and screen, go off pick and rolls, do all kind of types of actions, moving around. So I think he's going to be a guy who's going to get a lot of opportunity, and he's going to cash in on those opportunities. So I picked Paolo.
I like that pick. I'll go different, Zoo, because I don't know if you're going that, but I'm going Keegan Murray, man. I think that's
a really good pick.
Potential Rookie of the Year, man. And, I was reading up on him a lot, and, I got to watch him a little bit. I think he's dealing with COVID right now, or he's in health and safety protocol. But I actually think that, looking at the Western Conference, we said it's a little more open towards the bottom. The Kings might have a chance for the first time in 17 years to make the playoffs. It'll probably be the play-in. They might have to face like a Lakers potentially in the play-in. That's funny, but I'm just looking at that team, man. They have some solid talent. I mean, I think we've talked about it, but De'Aaron Fox making $28 million a year. I think you could say he's underperforming a little bit based on how much he's making and how hype he was. But Sabonis is there. You got Davion Mitchell. But Keegan Murray, I think he fits in nicely. I think he'll be a better complement to De'Aaron Fox than Davion Mitchell is. And he's 6'8", man. He's no scrub. They need a wing player, a small forward that can shoot. And he was the best scorer in college last year. So I think they have a legit shot, especially if they make a little noise in the West too. I think he'll just his stock will just continue to rise for Rookie of the Year throughout the year.
Interesting. Going with the perimeter scorer, huh?
Absolutely.
I like that, but I'm going to pick another perimeter scorer, man. Benedict Mathurin, man, on the Indiana Pacers, man. This dude in preseason is lighting it up. He's averaging 20 points a game during preseason and only 22 minutes per game. 22 minutes. Because right now, obviously, they have Buddy Hield starting. He should start. He's the veteran guy. I feel like they're going to go full tank mode. They're going to try to get rid of Miles Turner. Yeah, exactly. They're going to get rid of Miles Turner. They're going to get rid of Mr. Buddy Hield. We're going to full rebuild, want all the young guys in, tank, lose as many games, and Mathurin, man, if they're tanking, this guy's going to be getting up shots.
Yep.
And if this guy's having 20 points in pretty much 20 minutes, this guy's an offensive skill set, man. As a wing guy, he's an elite athlete. He can shoot the jump shot. He's going to get the opportunity to play with Tyrese Halliburton as a true point guard. We'll be feeding him the basketball. Like, if you look at that team, they don't have any go-to scorers on the team. There's no go-to scorers on the team.
Yeah.
Like, Hio's more of a catch-and-shoot type of guy. Like, obviously, pass first point guard. Exactly. And, like, Duarte's another, like, catch-and-shoot type of dude. So, if Benedict Mathurin becomes the guy as a scorer and he puts up 18 points on a team, like, they're not going to win many games, so he's getting lots of opportunities for a young guy. I feel like Mathurin is a low-key pick. Like, if you look at his odds, he ain't up there in the Vegas odds right now. I feel like Mathurin, man, this guy has an elite opportunity to get it done in winning Rookie of the Year, man.
Pick.
Yeah, Rookie of the Year. I like his skill set. And the preseason, man, people sleep on the preseason, but I like if a rookie starts well in the preseason, I like that. I like that a lot. So Benedict Mathurin is my guy to win Rookie of the Year this year.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that pick because he is the classic 6'6", 6'7" wing that can shoot, get to the rim. He's athletic, and he's going to have a lot of opportunity if those trades end up happening with Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. So he's going to be, him and Duarte are probably taking a lot of shots.
Yep.
So
It
could be a situation where he gets the shots up, and if he's hitting and he's doing what he needs to do, he could be a low key pick. And he's probably got really good odds too, so he could probably get some really good money
value there.
Switching to the last award, obvious MVP award. Over the years, we've had repeat winners with the MVP award. We've had guys come in and out win that award. I think for me, that factored into my decision with the MVP award. So as you can see, I'm not gonna have Jokic or Giannis. I feel like there's a lot of fatigue, and that's that happens in every type of voting system, whether it's the NFL, NBA, NHL. That always happens. Nobody wants to keep voting for the same guy, even though you can make a case those guys could win like 3 or 4 years in a row. It's just it's in how they impact the game. Like you could be like, yeah, this guy deserved it 3 or 4 years in a row, but that's not how the voters do it because it's not robots, it's humans.
Humans.
Yeah, it's humans making decisions. So for me, I was looking at like who's a guy who could explode? Who's a guy who has because I love the post guys, which Joel Embiid, I was struggling with him because he really does impact both sides of the ball.
Yep.
And the thing about him is I think he's going to, like you said to you guys, he might end up getting to the finals. So he's going to probably have one of the best records in the East. So that was a reason why I'm like, Joel Embiid seems like the obvious pick. So I didn't want to make it too obvious because I feel like Joel Embiid is just, I don't know what his odds are on, I don't know, DraftKings, whatever. But yeah, he might be the favorite. So that's too easy. So let me think of a wild card. And I was speaking earlier about the Western Conference of a team that I like a lot just because of one player.
You're going to say it, huh?
I think Luka has a chance. And Christian Wood is going to be, I think, a big part of this. If Christian Wood, 6-man or starting, whatever, if he comes out and plays to his potential and plays really well, I think their record is going to be good enough. Now, if they're a fringe playing team or like a 6 seed, it's going to be very tough because, with these awards, they always say it's the MVP and it's about the player, but record does go into it. I don't care what anybody says. Record goes into it.
Absolutely.
So I think if they can somehow be in that 4, maybe 5, preferably 3 range, which I don't see happening, but if they can be in that range, I think Luka has a really good shot because he's already shown the ability to get close to a triple-double. He's just going to continue to get better because, he's been on record saying it's easier to play in the NBA than playing over in the EuroLeague where he played at or in the Spanish league. So I think he just knows the NBA game is going to be easier for him. He's going to get calls. He's going to get to the line. He's going to get points. So I think he's a guy who's going to take a step, even though he's already taken several steps. And I think it put that Phoenix series, going back to that and referencing that, but I think him beating that team and getting to the Western Conference Finals, that put him a little bit ahead of schedule, kind of like LeBron. And I think it's got people who should have already been a believer in Luka, but they're already looking at Luka like, okay, he made this extra step and he won games in the playoffs. So if he just comes into next season and keeps doing what he needs to do and he gets back to the playoffs, I think people are going to be like, okay, we should pick him because he's a guy that just has all the opportunity. And plus, too, I also factored in other guys like Jokic and Giannis, which they're not going to win, and Embiid. You know, say for the 76ers. What if Harden is really good? That's going to eat into Embiid. What if Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. is really good? That's going to eat into Jokic. You know, all these other guys who are perceived guys who could be MVP guys, if the other star on their team is really good, that's kind of going to eat into it. Like, you know, that may be a factor into, like, do I want to pick the guy who's also got another guy who's averaging 25 points? Like, is he the true MVP? Because we don't know whose team it is. Mm-hmm. Luka ain't got nobody on this team that's going to be able to do that. He's going to have the ball. He has one of the highest usage rates in the NBA. So, to me, I feel like that's a pick that Luka's probably still got really high odds too, but that's
Luka has he's the Vegas favorite right now.
Is he really?
Yeah, it's Luka Doncic is number one.
Look at you, Sean. You should go work for Caesars.
Luka Doncic is number one right now. Giannis is 2, and then Embiid is 3.
And then Embiid.
Giannis, I can kind of see it too because he didn't win last year, so
that's a little surprising that Doncic has won. But I think
Doncic has been one for the last. Doncic has been one for the last 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're just waiting.
How many years has he been in the league
this year?
Like 4 or 5 years. Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Yeah, it's insane.
Wow.
Pretty much after that Clippers series, man, I was so after that game winner. Oh my lord, that was one of the greatest shots I've ever seen, man. Luka Doncic against the Clippers will always be ingrained in my memory, man. But yeah, Luka's a great pick, man. But I gotta go with my boy Embiid this year, man. Yeah. I'm looking at the voters' mindset. It's a little psychology game, and not just the numbers, man. Because I think numbers-wise, Joel Embiid will get his 27, 12 rebounds, man. Blocks, get like 2 blocks a game, man. He's a two-way player, man. The analytics love Joel Embiid. Yep. But the thing is, they're going to feel bad for the man. Jokic last year, man. He won it pretty much based on purely on his stats were insane. Analytics were off the charts. And he had 2 of his best players out.
No help, yep.
He had no help. Like, that's a factor that obviously Embiid could compete with because he got James Harden. He got more help, technically.
Yeah.
Exactly. Maxey got more help. So pretty much voters' mindsets be like, okay, Jokic got his boys back. So, yeah, Jokic is off my list. I'm not even looking at Jokic this year because he won his back-to-back. Yeah. He got his players back. He doesn't get more valuable when his teammates come back. No, that's not how it works. So Jokic is out. I'm looking at Giannis. He's intriguing, man. He isn't because Chris Middleton being out is huge. It is going to be huge. But I feel like Giannis in the regular season, he's now in that mode where he don't need to like they ain't going to try to win 60 games. Conserving for the playoffs because Giannis playoff ready right now, man. Like mentally, he's already there. So I feel like they're not going to overexert him in the regular season. Mike Budenholzer loved playing Giannis those low minutes, 30, 31, 32 minutes, man. Conserve the body for the playoffs because you need that physicality to dominate in the playoffs. As you guys remember against the Boston Celtics, that took every bit of energy out of him. So I feel like they're gonna save his juice for the playoffs. So now I got Giannis out, and he's won multiple MVPs too. So that fatigue thing, that's there, man. Joel Embiid, man, I think they're going to go for the regular season record. They're going to try to win 60 games this year. Doc Rivers got a lot to prove after that embarrassment last year. He has a lot to prove. And what Doc Rivers does good, he wins regular season games, man. He's the master winning regular season games. James Harden loves the regular season. He's a great regular season player. This is a guy that's won multiple 60-win seasons. I feel like the Sixers this year can win 60 games this year in the regular season. Regular season. So if they're the regular season number 1 EC, Joel Embiid with all the empathy of, oh, this guy is so good. And this guy made all NBA second team just because of the rules of the voting system, the rules of that. Like, the empathy is there. The stats are going to be there. I feel like the winning's going to be there. Joel Embiid, man. When I was down in Chicago, I put down some money on Embiid winning MVP. Good so man. This is my pick, man. This is my pick, man. Joel Embiid, it has not changed. I feel like the voter mindset of voting Jokic over Embiid will factor in this year. Sure. Will absolutely factor in this year.
Yeah.
So Embiid's my pick. Embiid's my pick. And I have to add one more thing. We're not mentioning this. I think he could win both MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. I got to put that out there. Both awards. Exactly. Pull Giannis from winning no awards to winning all the awards. That's what's going to happen for Embiid.
And I think that partially has to do with the fact that he's kind of got not snubbed, but he's been slightly overlooked the past couple of years.
Second place multiple times hurts a little.
Yeah. You're the first loser, pretty much. That's what they're saying, right? So I gotta agree. I'm gonna go with Embiid here. The only one that, to Sean's point earlier, I think the only other guy you might be able to consider besides Giannis because of injuries and all that is potentially Ja, right? Not really having that second star. Yeah. I don't think he'll win MVP, but if he takes that next step and they're, also in the, top 2-3 seeds, which I don't have them there, but I think if you're looking for a potential guy that doesn't really share the ball that much with another stud on their team, it's kind of Ja and Luka in that situation, and potentially Giannis if Middleton's injury lingers. So, but I'm still going with Embiid because I think Zoo, it's that human psychology, man. They just they feel a little bad. He's got a chip on his shoulder as well. I think it's all just going to kind of come to fruition, and the process is finally coming through.
Yeah, I do think the sympathy vote will be there as long as Embiid is in that range.
Yep,
and he's playing like how he did last year. I think it's a great possibility he could win it. But just looking at the odds, some long shots that I was thinking about. So I know we were talking about like guys who are going to be the undisputed number one option on their teams, and there's no chance that another star could eat into their, I guess you could say, opportunities to score and do whatever to get the MVP. Anthony Edwards could take a leap, plus 5,000. Trae Young, plus 4,000. Those are two guys that's maybe interesting, especially Trae. Like, I know DeJounte is like another guard, but he's a defensive guy. So I think Trae's still going to have always opportunities. And if the Hawks, I don't think we consider them as one of the teams that are in that top 4 or 5.
No.
But if they make a trade, like I do like DeAndre Hunter a lot. I know he was hurt last year. They got rid of Kevin Huerter, which I hate because he's a nice shooter. But, if DeAndre Hunter makes a nicer judgment and becomes a two-way wing, and then you got DeJounte Murray, that really kind of frees up Trae to do whatever the hell he wants because he's going to have defensive help on the wing and in the backcourt. So that could be a guy, especially plus 4,000. And plus Trae, sneakily, like he's been in that 30 range a lot. So he averages a lot of points and he gets his assists. So, and he's exciting. That's part of the MVP too. Like you got to have guys who are exciting. Like Jokic, he won last year and the year before that because he's an analytics darling and he's a good player. But I think Trae brings a lot of flair with the NBA with his play, and I think that could be a possibility. And like plus 4,000, I would take a shot on that. Like
it's all going to come down to their record and how their team ends up performing. Because it is, I mean, we hate to say it, but and I know Zoo hates this argument, and I'm gonna bring it back. But the only reason Derrick Rose won the 2011 MVP over LeBron was because they had a better record at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Right.
And
that's just how it goes.
People did. No. That's one of the reasons. No. That's one of the reasons I give you that. But the other reason was LeBron's co-stars was Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. You got he got two perennial all-stars as side. That's just Robin and Alfred, man. That's just Robin. Do you know what D-Rose, Robin, and Alfred was? Luol Deng and Boozer. Are you kidding me? That's the reason. It's the supporting cast, man.
Those are the two things. It comes down to usually record and who's not getting the most help in their contributing individually. So if you're looking at it for like a guy in that perfect situation, I think Sean's point about Luka is probably the best option. That's why they have him.
Yeah, if Luka gets the number one seed, he's winning. He's winning it. He's winning it.
There's no way he's getting the number one seed.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think if he's in the top 3 somehow, like a 3rd seed, I think is his to lose. But no, I think I love Dallas, their additions, but I don't think their team is set up unless, Luka just goes God mode to where they can get the number one seed. I think Memphis is going to get number one seed.
I'm going to say this. I feel like if they had Jalen Brunson still, along with Christian Wood, I think they could have got the number one seed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, facts.
Losing Brunson is huge. Huge loss as a secondary ball handler. Yep. Huge loss. Really bad move by the Mavs, not contract extending him $50 million.
They could be a team maybe that makes a move at the deadline to maybe add with Luka. But yeah, I think Brunson, Wood, and Luka, that puts them in the territory of them getting the 3rd seed. Yeah, that would be a definite if they had those guys. Because Brunson is one of the players, like I said, they always talk about with LeBron. It's hard to sometimes build around him because of how he dominates the ball. It's kind of like that with Luka. And Brunson actually was one of those co-stars.
He played well.
Kind of crazy to say he's a star, but it's like he's a player that could fit with Luka. and knew how to go off of Luka and knew like how to get the ball and do whatever he could do while Luka's still on the floor. It's kind of hard to get other guys to build around him. That's why if you look at their roster, it's a lot of guys that could shoot. It's not a lot of guys that can go get their own shot. I mean, outside maybe Spencer. But so
game over.
Yeah, that's our NBA preview this tonight. You know, we had to get in here. It's a little bit longer than normal, but I mean, it's the beginning of the NBA season. Now, we'll say we're not going to be into the NBA every day and every part of the week unless there's something huge that happens, like something like an injury or somebody goes off for like 70 points or something like that. Because it is still the NFL season. We're still in the meat of the NFL. The season is going as long as it needs to go, and we're going to be here for all the content with NFL. So you guys that are going to see the NBA pop up on your feed in the next couple of days, that's just to give us the preview, but we will be doing a lot of NFL centric stuff. So make sure you guys focus into bullheaded_pod, bullheaded864 with TikTok, bullheaded_pod with Instagram. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Make sure you guys look at all the DSPs, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all of that type of stuff. And also make sure that you look at our Facebook page. We're posting the same type of content. I know they kind of got rid of the, podcast app, but you can still have the link to get to the podcast from Facebook, and we still post the same contact since they are linked with Instagram. So make sure you look into that. And for me, Zoo, and Peebush, we are